Okay, hopefully it's recording this and hopefully it's getting my voice. Got a little bit of a project here. It's an old Acer computer case. And what I want to do is I want to make a bench power supply, but the case is ridiculously too big. So my plan is to come down from the top here about 5 inches, which is almost the length of this ruler. So we're going to come down about 5 inches to about there. What we're going to do is we're going to cut around all that with I got an abrasive disc saw, and I'm going to cut that, and I will cut the side panel. You only need one side panel because when you cut it you can flip the bottom. So if cut this, the bottom is a mirror of the top. So when I cut this into 2 pieces, I can use one on either side. That'll be the new sides. So I'll cut those down to total height. So I'm not going to cut this until very last because I'm going to want to know the total height from that to the bottom. Now the other thing I need to do is I need to go around and drill out all the rivets that are going to hold parts of the case that I don't need. So what I want to end up with is this top, which comes off, and I'm going to pop it off in a second, but the top on this particular Acer case is only held in with a couple screws on the front, the back, and the side. So what I want to capture is the top, the bottom, a little bit of the frame, and this set of drive bays here. So essentially we're going to be chopping this down. I also want the power supply, which you can see really good in this video, but I can't. The power supply mount, because I'm going to put the original power supply back in there. The voltage and power controls, I've got some of those on order, so who knows when they're going to get here. I will make a front for this that will hold the 2 types of current limiting and voltage limiting controls, and I'll be seeing which ones I want. One is basically just a really fancy battery charger from eBay, and the other one is I mean, everybody's seen it. I don't have it handy here, but it's that little gray one, the little digital controller. And I'm planning on mounting them side by side or over under, depending on the size. Yeah, so when it's done, it should look like a very tiny tower PC, very short one. Also, I had the funny idea of maybe doing a second one of these and putting in a Raspberry Pi in it. But we'll see about that. Anyhow, so what I want to do, and it just so happens that I figured out 5 inches is about perfect. It just so happens I found this old product backer that happens to be exactly 5 inches. So I can make the correct cut height relative to the top. So this is the new cut too. And when I go around to cut this, I just need to cut that pillar because most of this tall bay that you see here, disconnect only has a couple of rivets up here, and then a couple on the front here. There's like, was it six here. When I cut this, I want to keep this top part, this bay up here, and this is going to go, and then these rivets down here. Once those 4 rivets are taken out, this front, what's left of the front will come right off, and then in the back, it's just as simple, just a matter of marking them. It's just a matter of marking this. My earlier depth wasn't as deep, but if I go 5, if I take this down 5 inches, it's a nice simple size, but it's also going to line up a little bit better with so that's the new cut too. It's a bit crooked, I don't like the look of that. So we'll be cutting that. That's the new cut down 2 line. The problem I might have here is this fan grill bumps out a little bit. Getting it to fit under the bottom here, because I'll have to drill these These rivets are going to get drilled out. Inclusive there too. That one. And then we're going to lower this down, so I'm going to need to bend the edge of this in a bit to fit in there. This, I might actually have to grind this portion here. This here might have to be removed so that this lip here fits inside that, but we'll see. The top when this comes off, I don't know if I can pop it off here easy or not. There we go. Well, as you can see, it's pretty easy top. These are handy to have if you're ever recycling computer cases. You can use them to make panels. You can just use them to hold things up off a bench. But in this case, it's this upper structure here that I want, and I'm going to do that in a few minutes, and then I should get back to you. Although chances are it's probably going to take longer than I'm thinking. But anyway, here goes. All right, so hopefully that recorded, and hopefully this microphone's picking me up, and it's, yeah, the wire is in shot. That's not good. There. Okay. Did the cutting, and you're probably going to hear the dog in the background crying there because he wants a little bit of attention. Anyhow, did the cut, so went through there, went through on the back too. So, as you can see, I had to take the rivets out for the tower, where the bottom of this would have met there on the tower. There's 4 rivets, took them out. I took out some of the rivets on the base just in advance of what was coming. I had to take out these rivets here for the bottom of that tower. Those 3 which are for this frame support. So the only thing I have to do now to get the bottom off is to take out, there's a rivet on this corner, there's a flush rivet there, there's one on, so there's 4 rivets left, and then this bottom plate will just come right off, because I did get these face rivets out and the couple that were in the back. So that'll be to get the bottom off. I'm not too worried about the bottom right now, so put him there. This is, I put the top back on just to help hold its shape. You can see there's some screws, hopefully this is focusing, the screws that will hold the top on. The only thing really holding this together is this beam here right now. That's why I went down 5 inches to have this beam stay intact until I can get the bottom on. Cutting this fan, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that. I think when I go to cut the panel in half, I'm gonna make this fan grill, what was left of it, when I go to cut the panel in half, I'm going to when I'm finished doing those cuts, I'm going to cut a relief cut here and a relief cut there, so I can bend this out of the way and then bend it back. And then I just have to figure out where I'm drilling and what I'm drilling for a couple holes to attach this bottom there. So essentially the machine, well, hopefully I don't know if it's showing up on this camera. I can tilt this in a bit for you guys. Essentially it's going to sit 5 inches tall on the table with the original plastic feet. So yeah, next is drill out a few more rivets and then I'll get back to you. Alright, well, I got the cutting done and it's just sitting here with a couple thin screws, not real, just sheet metal screws holding it. But it gives you an idea. I still have to work on something for the back because of how mangled up this area is down here. So I'd cut out some of these parts, some scrap parts from the rest of the case. Nice thing about that is, I mean, this is just a grid it's just a grid, so I mean, I could just cut it or bend it to make braces in any shape and then just bolt them in, or in some cases I might actually even JB weld some parts in so that regular case screws like this can go in, because I mean the top is going to be fine. Then once I have this in, the bottom sorted, I'll cut the sides to get the right height for this, and then that'll be on either side, then it'll be black all the way around. But right now it's just friction, sitting there by friction. My current idea is to flatten this out, which is threaded for the size of a standard PC case screw, flatten it out and drill some holes, and line it up to where the power supply screws would be, and then put the case screws through this into that for the power supply, sharing the same screws for the power supply on both sides. And that should work, actually. That should work pretty good. And then I could come back, and then when it's in place, I could sand it a bit and slather the pieces with JB Weld onto this side, and then it would only be needed for you just need the screws on the bottom. I do want to keep it so that it can be removed, or so the bottom can be accessed. It wouldn't be too bad if I had to make the bottom permanently attached, but I prefer not to. And then anyhow, you'll see the power supply will go in here. I've got room for some room underneath the power supply. I got room in the middle. I still have this drive bay, so if I wanted to put like 2 optical drives in here or something like that, I could. Not likely. I could mount, use it also as an external hard drive bay, as well as a power supply. Don't think that's really needed, but I could do that. Anyhow, so that's where it's at now. I will try and figure out how to secure the back. The front is pretty good. Yeah, the front's pretty good. And I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for the back, and then I'll get back to you guys. Alright, so we got it cut. I took the top off here for a minute. It's a bit wiggly because there's no support frame on this side, but it's no biggie. The top gives that right back when it's screwed on. You can still see the 2 dry bays on the front, or where they should be. And, oh, there's a dog. Power supply's in. Needs to be cleaned out and whatnot. It was the original supply from this case. It's like 380 watts or something like that. I really only want to separate the 12 volt rail, 5, and the dog's all happy. Coco, really? Then of course I'm going to do the ATX to benchtop power supply mod on this, and I'm probably going to leave the CPU wire because according to the side of the case, this has its own 12 amp supply, which seems a bit hard to believe only with those 4 little wires. So the main 12 volt rail is 12 amps. This is supposedly up to 12 amps, and there's as usual, the 5 and the 3 volt rail are considerably stronger. And then I'm going to probably use a light bulb inside as the dummy load for the feedback for this, because it has a sense wire, and I'm not sure if it's on the 3 volt or the 5 volt. But yeah, that'll be coming up next, and I'll get back to you then. But anyhow, that's where we're at so far. Had to make these little braces down here, if you can see them. They are just a piece of metal that I drilled and set, so really the bottom screws of the power supply help set this distance properly, because there's not much of the metal left here. It's kind of my mistake when I went nuts with the cutter on it. But anyhow, so far it's looking good, and yeah, I'll do a bit more and get back to you. Welcome back, guys. I got the sides cut. A little bit of mess up right there. I don't know if the video can see this. The blade dug in. Anyhow, I'll probably just putty that or tape over it. I gotta work on a way to get the front wings to attach. That won't be too bad. But overall, it connects as you'd imagine. Pretty simply. Let's see here. Let's take it off like you would normal PC. That's the rail side. There's not much going on in there. Let's just get a thumb screw here again. If you get it in there right, thumb screw just goes right in like it would normally. The only place it can't connect obviously is at the bottom here yet. There's nothing to grab, but I'll have to figure out something up front. Shouldn't be too hard for that. But open this side. You can imagine nothing too. Okay. Just like having a little Well, basically it's a little drive enclosure. If I wanted, I could put the optical drives back in there and make this like a remote drive bay with a power source and whatnot. I still have to do the mods for the power, but that's pretty much it. Again, screws there, take the lid off if I wanted to take the lid off, and the lid's side is what these hang on. I don't know if you can see on here, some brand of PCs, there's these little hooks in this little thing. That's what hangs the side. Now there's none on the bottom, but there's only one of these little lips here to grab this. But that holds it on pretty good, and it's with the sides on, it's incredibly sturdy. So I think I'm going to do the wiring for that next. But as far as making the structure, that part's done. I just have to get the panel parts in that I want. Now one thing that could happen, for the front obviously you just use plastic or something. But even just a piece of wood or something like that. I could just take a piece of wood. That one's not quite the right size, but yeah. But you get the idea. I could just take a nice piece of wood on the front, or whatever. I'll probably just take a piece of another piece of this metal, cut it into a square, and make a metal front. Not entirely sure on that yet, but there's no rush for that. Anyhow, that's it. Really stubby tower, I guess. Gone from a tower to a brick. And it would be really neat to make another one of these and put a Raspberry Pi in it. It'd be kind of cool, I think, anyways. Anyhow, if you got any questions or comments, don't hesitate to put them below. If you like this kind of crazy stuff, don't forget to subscribe, because you never kind of know what I was going to do next. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Welcome back, guys. Hopefully this is catching my voice right now. Got an old computer tower here, and hopefully this little monopod tripod isn't too bad.